Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Max's Perspective Podcast. And nice to have you here. Today, I have an interesting question, and that is to talk about the tableware in Western countries, such as the one I'm from. So, tableware, that is like what is on the table when you're about to eat besides the food. And compared to in Taiwan. So in Taiwan, you'll have bowls and chopsticks and plates and little teacups. So what is happening in Western countries? So first of all, I think this does change quite a bit depending on which country you're in, but I'll just give my general sort of what I know about it and how I was brought up in my family and my house. So I think typically food, like let's say we're at dinner, it's dinner time in the house with the family, something's been baked or cooked in the kitchen, and then it sort of all comes out. Either it comes out in dishes, and the dishes will go in the middle of the table, or in the kitchen it'll be served onto individual plates, and the plates will come out into the dining room and put on the table. So anyway, the main thing is that you will be eating off a plate, like a sort of like large dinner plate, probably about the size of a soccer ball. Okay? And so all your food's on there. And then you have a knife and a fork to eat that with. And that's it. That's the most simplest sort of thing, and that is a very typical meal you would have at somebody's home. But of course, things do get more complicated than that. So if you're having if your meal is a bit more complicated, so maybe you're having like a special meal because it's a special occasion, or you're at a very nice restaurant, or it's like a wedding or something, then there's going to be extra things. There's going to be more dishes and more servings. So you might have, in the beginning, you might have a soup. So therefore, there's going to be a spoon by your plate, above your plate. So in the beginning, you'll eat the soup from a bowl, and then that'll get taken away, and then you just have a plate, a knife and fork. You might also have a salad. So when you sit down, there might be 2 forks and 2 knives. And so there's 1 fork and 1 knife are a little bit smaller, and those are for your salad. And you might also have some fish, and if you eat fish, then there's a kind of weird knife that you might find next to your plate, and that is a special fish knife. There's probably more things, like there's probably another spoon because you'll use that for dessert, and there might even be a little teaspoon because after your meal you might have tea or coffee. So and there also might be a little side plate for your bread, and there might be another little knife to butter your bread. So yeah, it can get pretty crazy, but it's not too difficult, and nobody really cares or understands. So if you feel like nervous about that, if you're ever in a situation where you sit down and there's like 3 knives and 2 forks and 3 spoons, don't worry too much. I think the general rule is you start on the outside and you work your way in. So whatever the spoons and forks and knives on the outside, use those first, and then the main ones for the main meal should be on the inside, closest to your plate. Okay, I know it's very complicated, but just remember the average family in the average home any day of the week is probably just using a knife and a fork, and the meal comes on a plate. It's that easy. And here's your question for today. If you find a funny looking knife, what is that usually for? Is it for A, fish, B, chicken, C, duck, or D, vegetables? All right, everybody, please let me know, how do you find eating with knives and forks? I've seen in Taiwan, most people are pretty good eating with a knife and fork, but I have seen some funny things happen. which reminds me that it's not not everyone's comfortable with a knife and fork. And there's some difficult things to eat, like peas and carrots and things are difficult to eat with a knife and fork, just like I've found some things difficult to eat with chopsticks. So yeah, let me know your experiences. I would love to hear them. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. See you next time.